Good evening and welcome to the Newshour Agenda. I'm Madhavdas G. Viewers, there's a full-blown political war over the death of jailed gangster turned politician Mukhtar Ansari. Opposition has been training guns at the Yogi government after Mukhtar's family alleged that the former MLA was being slow poisoned in prison. From Samajwadi Party to BSP to RJD to AIMIM, the opposition parties have come together in slamming the BJP government in UP, alleging that Mukhtar Ansari has been killed in custody to polarize elections. They've also alleged a law and order collapse in the state. In the midst of this political showdown, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath had a crucial message to give. He said everyone was safe in UP.
प्रदेश हो या देश, लोग वही थे, देश वही है, प्रदेश वही है, केवल सरकार बदली और कार्यशैली बदली। आज आप देख रहे होंगे, आज यूपी में कर्फ्यू भी नहीं है, दंगा भी नहीं है। आज यूपी में बेटी और व्यापारी दोनों सुरक्षित है।
Now, while the Chief Minister didn't take any names, it was seen as a clear message to opposition leaders who've slammed the state government. SP Chief Akhilesh Yadav said the state government, which cannot protect citizens, has no right to remain in power. Freshly inducted into Congress, Pappu Yadav alleged that institutional murder has taken place. Owaisi, on the other hand, went to the extent of glorifying the accused and addressing him as a martyr.
Allah, जो मुख्तार अंसारी साहब जिनका इंतकाल हुआ, अल्लाह इनकी मग़फ़िरत फरमा दे, अल्लाह इनकी मग़फ़िरत फरमा दे। जेल में जहर इनको दे दिया गया, इनके खानदान वाले कहते हैं अल्लाह इनके दर्जात को बुलंद फरमा। अल्लाह जिनको जुल्म के जरिए मारा जा रहा है, परवरदिगार इनकी शहादत को कबूल फरमा। अल्लाह इनकी खबरों को नूर से भर दे, परवरदिगार इनकी खबरों को नूर से भर दे।
मौत संदेह के घेरे में है, तो देखिए न्यायालय को इसमें स्वयं रुचि लेना चाहिए। अगर जेल में किसी की मृत्यु होती है तो उसकी जिम्मेदारी प्रशासनिक अधिकारी, जेल से लेकर के सरकार से लेकर सबकी जिम्मेदारी है।
उत्तर प्रदेश में लगातार कस्टोडियल डेथ बढ़ती चली जा रही है। ये चिंता की बात है। सजा देना, न्याय करना, ये न्यायपालिका का काम होता है। मुख्तार अंसारी की फैमिली लगातार कह रही थी कि जहर दिया जा रहा है, जहर दिया गया है, उन्हें शंका हो रही थी, तो इस पे उसी समय कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए थी। आखिर उस पर कार्रवाई क्यों नहीं हुई, ये एक सवाल उठता है। दूसरा सवाल उठता है कि कोई भी अगर न्यायिक हिरासत में है तो उसको सुरक्षित रखने की जिम्मेदारी भी सरकार की होती है, क्योंकि सजा तो और न्याय तो न्यायपालिका देगा। आखिर इस तरह की घटना उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर में क्यों बढ़ रही है?
उत्तर प्रदेश एक अलग किस्म का राज्य बन गया, एक पैटर्न है, मौत और हत्या का फर्क मिट गया। बस इतना ही कहना।
BJP, on the other hand, has been quick to counter opposition's charges. The BJP warned people, asking them to be wary of opposition's tactics of communal polarization. BJP leaders have also said that this show of sympathy for Mukhtar indicates how opposition stands in support of mafia raj.
कि आजम खान को भी एक अलग जेल में शिफ्ट कर देना चाहिए जो बीजेपी शासित ना हो राज्य, ताकि उनकी भी डेथ ऐसे ना हो जाए।
देखो, इस तरह के इमोशनल जो ड्रामे हैं उससे कोई फायदा नहीं है। कानून अपना काम कर रहा है, कानून अपने काम करने के साथ साथ जो लोग भी कानून के हिफाजत में हैं, हिरासत में हैं, उनकी जो है वो कानूनी के तहत उस पर कार्रवाई हो रही है।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी तो हमेशा यही कोशिश करती है कि चुनाव से पहले कोई ऐसा इशू उनको मिल जाए जिससे पोलराइजेशन किया जा सके, जिससे ध्रुवीकरण किया जाए, तो ये उनकी कोशिश रहेगी। लेकिन इस बार जो देश का माहौल है वो हिंदू मुस्लिम, मंदिर मस्जिद, हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान, इन चीज़ों से ऊपर उठ गया है और लोग इस बात को समझ गए हैं कि सिर्फ भारतीय जनता पार्टी या संघ परिवार भटकाने के लिए इन मुद्दों को सामने लाती है।
Let's now try and make sense of what Mukhtar Ansari's death episode means politically. The gangster turned politician has been a 5-time MLA from UP's Mau constituency, and he holds sizable influence in several areas in eastern UP's region. Mau, Ghosi, Ghazipur, Mohammadabad, Mirzapur and Chandoli are among the areas that Mukhtar Ansari and his clan have been dominating. Let's focus on some of these areas which remain the bastions of Mukhtar Ansari and his family. The Mau Sadar Assembly seat remained an invincible fort of Mukhtar and his family from 96 to 2022. Mukhtar himself won the seat for 5 consecutive terms between 1996 and 2017. His son Abbas Ansari, who's currently in jail, had won the seat in 2022. Mukhtar's brother Afzal Ansari represented Mohammadabad Assembly seat in Ghazipur district for 5 terms. Later, Afzal won the Lok Sabha election from Ghazipur in 2004 and 2019. In the last Lok Sabha elections in 2019, he had defeated BJP candidate Manoj Sinha, who's now the Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor. Mukhtar's second brother, Sibghatullah Ansari too, won the Mohammadabad Assembly election twice in 2007 and 2012. Sibghatullah's son, Sohail Ansari, won on the SP ticket from Mohammadabad in 2022. Now, these areas are essentially in eastern UP region, where in fact BJP is considered relatively weak. We'll have to wait and see if Mukhtar's death will affect the polls or not. But here's what experts and senior journalists have to say on the political impact of Mukhtar's death.
देखिए कि जो विपक्षी पार्टियां हैं उससे सिंपैथी जाहिर कर रही हैं, तो ये साफ लगता है कि मुख्तार अंसारी के पास वोटों की ताकत अब भी मौजूद है। उससे सिंपैथी पाके पॉलिटिकल पार्टी वोट हासिल कर सकते हैं। जहाँ तक हिंदू मुस्लिम या उसकी ध्रुवीकरण की बात पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज की है, तो समाजवादी पार्टी ने तो ट्वीट किया भी है उसमें योगी आदित्यनाथ ने विधानसभा में एक बोला था कि आसिफ को लेकर के कि मिट्टी में मिला देंगे, और उसमें कई एक नाम जोड़ते हुए जो 6-7 नाम हो चुके हैं, उसमें ये लेटेस्ट नया नाम। तो ध्रुवीकरण तो ऑलरेडी है ही, उसमें कोई दो राय नहीं, कोई शंका नहीं है। ये किस पार्टी के पक्ष में जाएगा, वो किस पार्टी के पक्ष में जाएगा, इसका तो मतदान के बाद ही पता लगता है।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, let's take this across to our guest. Joining us with us is Karan Verma, author, Shubhrastha, founder of The Churn, is with us. Yashovardhan Azad, former IPS officer, joins us on the show, as well as Lokesh Jindal, political analyst. Also with us is Mohammad Tariq Khan, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Asif Sohail is a political analyst joining us as well, leans towards the MIM. Let me start with the spokesperson of Samajwadi Party, Mohammad Tariq Khan. As per reports that have been coming in, Mukhtar Ansari is supposed to have died due to a cardiac arrest, and this is what sources say is there in the post-mortem as well. On what basis is the Samajwadi Party raising suspicions or saying that that was not the case?
Listen, audio between him and his son has been there, and we must have to listen that. In that audio, what Mukhtar Ansari had said, that I am not even able to walk properly, and from last 10 days I am having constipation. The question arises over here is this, that why was he submitted to the hospital yesterday, day before yesterday, and suddenly he was again shifted to the jail? If he was seriously ill, being a citizen of the nation, he should be admitted to the hospital and should be taken care. And the law should have taken their own course. He has already convicted in 2 or 3 cases. So, this is not important. Judicial custody death has been increasing in Uttar Pradesh in a very speedy manner, and fake encounter as well, it has been increasing. As a responsible opposition, we are raising the question that the law and order situation in Uttar Pradesh is not good, as it has been claimed by Yogi Adityanath that there is a zero tolerance and there has been no crime. So we have seen so many custodial deaths in Noida. Just few days back, we have seen a death in custody. In Hathras, we have seen a death in custody.
Okay.
So these
death in custody is the issue. Death in custody is the issue. Karan Verma, please respond to that. There are several incidents that have been witnessed in UP as per the Samajwadi Party spokesperson. And that raises serious questions because, this has serious implications about how our criminal judicial system is actually working.
Well, first of all, Madhav, an inquiry has been ordered into that. And let's not, come here and come up with these conspiracy theories, because the right treatment was given to him. He died because of natural causes. He died because of a heart attack. But then Samajwadi Party has a habit of having this extra soft spot for terrorists and gangsters. I mean, can we forget that they approached the courts for the release of Waliullah Khan, who was later a convicted terrorist? So Samajwadi Party has always had this soft corner. For gangsters, for murderers, they give tickets to such people. Today, he was talking about an audio tape. Today, we've heard the statement of the DSP, then DSP Shailendra Singh, who tells us now how Mulayam Singh pressurized him. When he had imposed quota on Mukhtar Ansari and caught him back in 2004, how he was forced to resign within 15 days. So the law and order situation in UP has come a long way. And I can share statistics with him. 61% dakati down in UP ever since Yogi Adityanath has taken over. 77% robbery down. We have 54% conviction in cases crime against women. These are hard numbers today. What is he talking? Today, if he cannot stomach the fact that gangsters are finally meeting their fate legally, lawfully, then I am afraid that is your problem. Because Samajwadi Party, for the longest period of time, they had become so accustomed to this gundaism, they cannot stomach the alternate reality that UP today is.
All right, let me bring in Asif Sohail. Asif Sohail, the problem is this, that, end of the day, there may be questions, there may be doubts, and family has every right to raise their doubts wherever they may be. But the problem is when a person who has been convicted of heinous crimes is called a martyr, that's where things become extremely problematic, sir, because you will have the BJP saying, ये सब राजनीति के लिए किया जा रहा है. In the run up to the polls, you have a situation where such persons who are convicted criminals, are supposedly mafia dons, have even been elected in the past. Such individuals should not be glorified. But unfortunately, that's what's happening for polarization. Asif Sohail.
माधवन, मैं बोलना चाहूँगा कि मुख्तार अंसारी मरहूम, उनके दर्जात बुलंद हो. देखिए, उन्हें मारा गया है, उनको जो तो जहर दिया गया, उनके फैमिली ने बताया है. ठीक है, देखिए उत्तर प्रदेश में बंदूक से फैसला किया जाता है, जहर से किया जाता है, बुलडोजर से किया जाता है, एनकाउंटर से. फिर आप बोलते हो कि एक तरफ वहाँ पे क्राइम रेशियो कम है, कई बच्चियां लापता है, कई कत्ल हो रहे हैं. ये सिर्फ एक सीरियल टारगेट किलिंग क्यों एक कम्युनिटी को हो रही है? मेरा सवाल यही है. उत्तर प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट ने, अगर उनके पास संविधान है, कानून है, तो उससे सजा देना चाहिए. गैंगस्टर और इनमें क्या फर्क रह गया? गैंगस्टर पब्लिक को मार रही है और ये लोग गैंगस्टर को मार रहे हैं. फैसला करने के लिए कानून दिया है ना.
अनिल दुजाना, विकास दुबे के नाम सुने आपने?
प्रधानमंत्री हो या कोई,
I'm only saying that there are gangsters.
मेरी बात तो खत्म करने दीजिए.
Okay, complete your point.
कोई दूध का धुला नहीं है सर, कोई दूध का धुला नहीं है. टेरर एक्यूज भी बाहर घूम रहे हैं, उन्हें मारा नहीं जाता है, उन्हें बाइज्जत जो अच्छे जो जगह पे बिठाया जा रहा है. आप किस चीज के ऊपर जस्टिफिकेशन दे रहे हैं? इसको मैं क्लियरली कंडेम कर रहा हूं. सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जज से इसकी इंक्वायरी करा जाए और इसको रोकना चाहिए. ये सिर्फ ये इलेक्शन को डाइवर्ट करने के लिए उत्तर प्रदेश में एक जो माफिया राज खत्म हो गया, बोले माफिया राज नहीं खत्म हुआ है, वहां पे आज पॉलिटिशियनों का राज शुरू हो गया है. खुलेआम जो सो एक लाइसेंस किलिंग कर रहे हैं वहां पे. आप बताइए मुझे, एनकाउंटर के नाम पे मारा जा रहा है, एक कोर्ट को लेकर जाने के टाइम पे जो सो मारा जा रहा है. ये गोली से, बंदूक से, बुलडोजर से कब तक मारोगे आप? संविधान खत्म नहीं हुआ है अभी.
Shubhrastha,
जिंदा है
संविधान. This is all happening as per design. If you go by what Mr. Asif Sohail is saying, of course his leader Mr. Owaisi today called him a martyr. That is, of course, Mr. Ansari. But they are, in a sense, saying that this is an encounter raj that is going on. People are killed by bullets. People are killed in custody. In this case, the allegation of the family that there was slow poisoning being taken very seriously by certain opposition leaders. Shubhrastha.
So, Madhav, I've been patiently hearing people talk about different references. Ramzan also came into the whole conversation. There was whole conversation about custodial death and all that. Let's make a couple of things very clear. Point number one, Mukhtar Ansari died in prison for sure. He did have health issues for sure. But to allude that the state has killed him is taking the whole conversation at a completely different level. And which is why this whole idea of playing communal politics right before election comes into play. Let me tell you one thing, Madhav. Who was Mukhtar Ansari? We all know, you have covered politics for such a long time. Mukhtar Ansari was not a noble soul. The kind of gang war that has happened in UP, the kind of gang network that he created, in the late 90s, early 2000s, please don't smile. The plight of people from that area will tell you that it is not a smiling matter. Tomorrow, if somebody from Bihar comes and says that we should start justifying क्या? मैं यही थी सर.
नहीं, आप मेरी मुस्कुराहट को भी कंट्रोल करेंगे क्या? अभी लोगों को जान से मार रहे हैं, उसके ऊपर आपको तकलीफ नहीं है? कोई दूसरों के ऊपर आप जो सो देखिए, आप who has given you to right to justify whether he is a noble soul or not? Who has given you the right?
The courts have convicted him, sir. Is that not a case?
The law.
Criminal cases.
Yeah, 65 criminal cases, serious charges of extortion, of murder. These are not serious crimes according to you.
बहुत जनों को करा है convict. तो उसमें क्या है आपको? You cannot call anyone as they are not a noble soul.
Even if they are convicted 65, even they have 65 criminal cases and they've been convicted several times over. You don't believe in the courts of the law, Mr. Sohail?
सर उनको एक्विट भी किया गया था कई केसेस में।
जिनमें एक्विट किया ठीक है, बट जिनमें एक्विट भी पाया गया उसकी वजह से तो जेल में थे वो।
नहीं गलत तो गलत है। देखिए सर गलत तो गलत है। मैं उनको मारने के ऊपर मैं उनकी जस्टिस उसके ऊपर बात कर रहा हूँ। उनको जो कस्टोडियल डेथ की गई उसके ऊपर बात कर रहा हूँ।
आपने मुझसे
responsibility of the state.
Okay, no, nobody is justifying any kind of extrajudicial action. One second, let me come in here, Mr. Sohail. Nobody is justifying any kind of extrajudicial action. If there is evidence to prove that he was indeed slow poisoned and there is a magisterial inquiry, perhaps the truth will come out in the matter. The point being made over here is that why is he being glorified? Here is a person who has been convicted on extremely heinous crime charges. All right, I want Shubhrastha to come in on this. Shubhrastha, please respond to what Sohail said.
You know, I'll switch to English. Let me just respond to him in Hindi because he posed a question. देखिए, आप सियासी लफाजी जुमलेबाजी आपको जो करना है आप सियासतदानों के साथ कीजिएगा। उत्तर प्रदेश के नागरिक होने के नाते मेरा हक है कि मैं मुख्तार अंसारी के बारे में उतनी ही तीखी बात कहूं जितनी तीखी बात मैं किसी और लीडर के लिए कर सकती हूं। Let us understand, Madhav, that Mukhtar Ansari was not a random convicted, politician. There have been charges that have been proven. He was, even while he was, these guys themselves say that he died a custodial death, right? So why was he in custody? Was he absolutely innocent? The courts of India or the entire judiciary, all of that is flawed. Mukhtar Ansari should not have been in jail. Please let us give certain leeway to the agencies which are already at work. You have a problem, you want to make politics out of it, by all means go ahead and do it. But do it outside on the streets. Do not try to vitiate the narrative atmosphere.
Okay.
Do not try and play, play up.
आप उत्तर प्रदेश, मैडम आप उत्तर प्रदेश के शहरी है।
Let's hear.
मैं हिंदुस्तान का शहरी हूँ। तूने आई एम प्राउड टू बी एन इंडियन। ठीक है, आप उत्तर प्रदेश के शहरी हो, बट मैं हिंदुस्तान का शहरी हूँ। मैं बराबर करूंगा। समझे, आपसे बढ़ के ये मुल्क हमारा है। हमें मत बताइए आप किसके हक में बात करना है। आपसे बढ़ के ये मुल्क हमारा है।
एक करके प्लीज one by one
यूनिवर्सिटी से पढ़कर आ
let's change track a bit. Yeah.
सुहेल भाई, आपने सवाल उठाया, आपके सवालों का ही जवाब मैं दे रही हूँ। आपने कहा ना कि इनकी डेथ हुई, इनको मारा गया, ये आपके शब्द हैं। तो मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ, क्या जुडिशरी गलत थी? इनको जेल में जो रखा गया था, क्या वो गलत रखा गया था? आप इसका सवाल नहीं दे रहे ना, सवाल का जवाब नहीं दे रहे सीधा।
मैडम, सजा उनको जेल में रहने की दी गई थी, उनको जान से मारने की सजा नहीं दी गई थी। आप मुझे बताइए, उन्हें जान से मारने की सजा दी गई थी क्या?
तो क्या आप ये आधिकारिक रूप से अलेज नहीं कर रहे? आप इस सरकार के ऊपर बहुत बड़ा लांछन लगा रहे हैं।
भाई उनके फैमिली सुनिए, वो जो भी होगा करने दीजिए, मैं वो चीजों से नहीं करता। उनके घर वालों ने क्लियर लिखत में दिया है।
There are questions to debate. There are several points of law as well. But let me get in Mr. Yashowardhan Azad as the sole IPS officer on the panel. I want you to come in on this, Mr. Azad, because here you have, of course, a political fight that is on. But how should we view this from the point of what has actually transpired? Prima facie, there are allegations, of course, coming in from the family. But are we putting the cart before the horse in this case? What's your view?
See, there are two critical issues in Mukhtar Ansari's case. First is that whether he's a dreaded gangster, whether he's a whatever, whether medical attention was given to him in right time, number one. And number two, the allegations of poisoning need to be inquired into. Now, a judicial inquiry has been ordered, which will come out with the truth. There is no problem. He was in the ICU for about 10 hours, and then he was brought back. Then again, he complained of pain, and he died because of a heart attack in front of the doctors. That is clearly established. Now, Banda Hospital is not a hospital of the Heart Institute of Houston or even AIMS. So, unfortunately, these politicians and these big mafias
don't take care of these basic communities when they work? Don't they help even common people? Now, the third point which I want to make is that these reactions are typical, communalizing the incident or politicizing the incident. It is a reflection of our social polity that dreaded gangsters across the land. We had one Shahabuddin in this area. We had Vikas Dubey in UP. There are so many in Madhya Pradesh that they become the dons and they become a kind of local heroes. That is because of the time of the collapse of the law and order. In this particular case, Madhav, I want to tell you, by killing him, neither the police would gain nor the state would gain, for the simple reason that out of 65 cases pending against this gangster, in 5 he was convicted. So, and his mafia Raj was not doing anything in UP. In fact, it had been whittled down to such an extent that it never benefited. In fact, his living, if he would have alive, that would have given more advantage to both the police and the A to get more and more cases convicted and have a much better picture of law and order and crime. And therefore, I think this reaction which is coming is expected. The debate is needless. And last point, on poisoning, that, you get the real report about poisoning from a toxicology report.
Right.
And once the allegations have been made, obviously the viscera would have been preserved, the blood and urine, etc., would have been preserved. But that report takes about 4 to 6 weeks. And therefore, the judicial inquiry, which is coming up in a month, will clearly establish what is right and what is wrong in this particular case.
I think that's very, very well put. And I think that sums up exactly the kind of political controversy that we're seeing. And Lokesh Jindal, you have Mr. Azad, who has very succinctly put it. He said that certainly there are questions. Let's wait for the magisterial inquiry. Let's not jump the gun. And it is unfortunate at the end of the day, this debate is about the fact that a person who has been responsible for several murders and several brutal ones at that, Krishnanand Rai's body being riddled with about 4 dozen bullets and about 300 to 400 bullets being fired. That's the kind of crime that this is a person who's accused of. And, why is it that you have a section of politicians playing to the gallery in such a case? Some level, basic level has to be there when it comes to politics, isn't there?
Yes, certainly, Madhav. In fact, I would agree with the person on the panel. Honorable Sir, you will also agree that one major guideline issued by NHRC with respect to custodial violence has been to examine the adequacy of medical treatment given to the accused. Now, over here, the police department is also responsible to make sure that the medical treatment that was meted out to any person in custody or a person who's serving a sentence is adequate as per his medical condition. Now, why is it that in Uttar Pradesh, why is it that in Uttar Pradesh there has been a total of 952 cases of custodial deaths since 2020? Why is this rise in Uttar Pradesh? Is it that the department does not have any form of adequate facilities available? What form of, is there some form of a maladministration? Is there some form of a political angle to it? What is it? This is what the question is, that why the police department in Uttar Pradesh is leading to such form of murders which are highly political and which have a tendency to have a political impact.
Would like to respond to that, Mr. Azad. Whether we can call this a murder or not, of course, remains to be seen. But it is a fact that in the year 2020-2021, there were 952 cases of death in police custody. And this is as per a Lok Sabha reply given by the Union Minister of State for Home in the Parliament. Mr. Azad.
No, it can't be 952 police custody. It is 952 people who died in custody.
Who died in custody. Yeah, I correct.
Died in custody.
Died in custody.
And when it is judicial custody, which is maximum 90%, in fact, judicial custody is totally in the hand of prison authorities, it not with the police. Police does not rule the prisons. It's the prison administration which takes care of it. In the police custody are those people who die in police stations, you know, and out of that, then the categories are made whether somebody died of because of police torture or otherwise. And I totally agree with you that if in those cases, because it's mandatory to do an inquiry, in all these cases, judicial inquiry, in fact, is a must. And they should be punished. They should be absolutely punished if it's established. There's no doubt about it.
All right. So the charges are very serious at the end of the day, Karan, because you have the opposition saying that this is not one isolated case. There are several such cases that have happened of those who have died in custody. There are several examples that have been cited as well. And they're saying that there is a pattern that is emerging here.
No, I don't see a pattern emerging, Madhav. Of course, suggestions are always welcome. I mean, UP has stepped up leaps and bounds in terms of police infrastructure and law and order. So, of course, suggestions as far as improving the medical conditions, they're always welcome. But coming up, like my friend Lokesh came up with this, that police is resorting to murders which have political ramifications, I think that's a loose statement to say. And what is happening here, Madhav? Let's address the elephant in the room. What is happening here is minority appeasement. Why would someone like Owaisi read out a dua for someone like Mukhtar Ansari? And I'm so happy that my good friend, Mr. Asif Sohail, at least he has been honest on this panel. And he said that he regards him as a noble soul. 8 convictions. Can you imagine? 8 convictions of murder and extortion. And our good friend is not able to say whether he's a noble soul or not. I think one should unapologetically say that he was not a noble soul by any stretch of imagination. He was a hard-nosed criminal, a murderer. Yes, there is a judicial probe that has been ordered to look into it. But let's not glorify him. The way the opposition today is glorifying him, somebody is calling him Robin Hood. Samajwadi Party has gone on to say भावपूर्ण श्रद्धांजलि. ऐसा क्या इन्होंने कर दिया था जो आप भावपूर्ण श्रद्धांजलि इनको दे रहे हैं? 1300 डेथ्स हुई है माधव, जो कि 170 CRPC के अंडर इंक्वायरी होनी चाहिए. केवल 21% हुई है ऑल ओवर द कंट्री. हैव दे एवर कम अप एंड बीन सो enthusiastic about inquiries in other cases? Why here? Because they sense some political minority appeasement. That is why they want to extract political mileage.
Okay, Mohammad Tarikan, please respond to that. Robin Hood, the grandson of freedom fighter, and the other kind of comparisons to a martyr. Is that the kind of language that one should be using for a person who has been convicted on multiple counts? On 8 counts at least.
Or somebody else. It's not the matter of Mukhtar Ansari only. It's someone who is under the judicial custody or the police custody.
So that person becomes a martyr, that person dies. One second.
Let it be anyone.
Someone else के लिए आपने कब आवाज उठाई? अखिलेश जी ने या राम गोपाल यादव ने someone else के लिए कब आवाज उठाई? आज आपकी कैसे कॉन्शियस जाग गई इस चीज के बारे में?
नहीं, देखिए भाई, बीच में नहीं बोलिए, मेरी बात सुनिए. पहले आपने बोला, मैं किसी के बीच में नहीं बोला हूँ.
बोले.
हम कह रहे हैं कि जुडिशियल कस्टडी में ये जो 926 लोग मर गए, इसको आपने एकदम साइडलाइन कर दिया. ये कोई मैटर ही नहीं है. हाँ, ये तो होता ही रहता है. आईपीएस साहब ने भी समझा दिया कि हाँ, वो लोग ऐसे ही मर गए थे. वो लोग गए और जाके छोटे से नल में लटक गए, फांसी लगा लिया और खुद को मार डाला. ऐसे ही मर गए थे वो लोग. कैसे मर गए भाई? और कितने पुलिस वालों को आपने कन्विक्ट किया? जितने लोग मर गए थे पता है आपको? 2-4 भी नहीं किए. इसका मतलब ये है यू आर मर्डरिंग देम. जैसे मुंबई में जब गैंग वॉर
very simplistic, sir. Nobody is saying. Sir, no. One second. That's a very simplistic, kind of argument, Mr. Tarikan. I'm telling you why. There is a judicial inquiry in this case. If there are inquiries where there is some wrongdoing that is proved, poisoning, for in this case is the allegation, if that is proved, then certainly action should be taken. Who's going to justify a wrong act?
So I'm not questioning that. The family is questioning that. I'm not questioning. Family उसमें सवाल उठा रही है, हमने नहीं कहा.
So where is the debate
परिवार सवाल उठा रहा है. उनके बेटे कह रहे हैं, उन्होंने 4 दिन पहले एफिडेविट दिया था कोर्ट में कि मुझे पॉइजन दिया जा रहा है. मैं कह रहा हूँ, एक बात बताइए मुझे. एक आदमी जो आईसीयू में था, पहली बात तो जुडिशियल कस्टडी में किसी को मार डालो, इसकी इजाजत मिलती है अगर, तो मार डालिए मुख्तार अंसारी को, कोई नहीं रोकेगा. अगर कोई जुडिशियली कस्टडी में है और उसने 15 मर्डर किए हैं तो उसको कस्टडी में मार डालिए. अगर ये प्रावधान है.
सर, मर्डर का क्या सबूत है आपके पास? सिंपल सवाल, मर्डर का क्या सबूत है इस केस में आपके पास?
तुरंत इंक्वायरी.
सर, मर्डर कहना आसान है, प्रूव करना बहुत मुश्किल है.
फैमिली एलेज कर रही है सर.
फैमिली एलेज कर रही है तो प्रूव होगी ना सर. प्रूफ तो नहीं है इस वक्त मर्डर का.
हम भी तो इंतजार कर रहे हैं. हम कहाँ कह रहे हैं कि हम ऐसा हो गया है? हम भी कह रहे हैं प्रोब करिए.
Shubhrastha, respond to that. We are only saying there should be a probe. We are not jumping to conclusions. Is that the case?
I'm sorry. The way AIMIM party chief, prayed for this person in a public rally, it clearly is an insinuation. The kind of debate that we saw on your panel today, Madhav, and multiple panels today, it is all about glorifying an individual and saying that there has been a extrajudicial killing. It is basic. This is the basic crux of the argument that these guys are making, and questions will be asked on that count. On what Mukhtar Ansari ने कह दिया उनको जेल, उनको जहर दिया जा रहा था. हम मुख्तार अंसारी की बात पे क्यों विश्वास करें? वो राजा हरिश्चंद्र थे. कौन थे वो? हम एक गैंगवार तरीके से उत्तर प्रदेश को बर्बाद करने वाले गुंडे की बात पर क्यों विश्वास करें? Just because he has died today doesn't mean that we will forget everything that guy did.
Absolutely. And of course, there are questions. Of course, there are questions surrounding the death. There are questions surrounding whether he got proper medical treatment or not. And those are valid questions. The family believes there was poisoning. Perhaps that should be probed. And perhaps through that inquiry is when we will get to know what has actually transpired. But for the moment, certainly politics raging in the state of Uttar Pradesh, and perhaps no coincidence that all of this is happening in the run-up to the Lok Sabha polls. I'd like to thank all our panelists for joining us this evening. Karan Verma, of course, continues with us for debate number 2. But Shubhrastha, Yashowardhan Azad, Lokesh Jindal, Mohammad Tariq Khan and Asif Sohail, thanks so much for joining us.